And we are back with AIWF Mid-Atlantic Breakdown, episode 14, Reagan.
14?
14!
Wow. That's hard to believe. That is hard to believe. We've been going, wow.
14 weeks.
We'll have to figure out something to do when we hit 25. Like
that's like the silver anniversary episode.
It is. That's exciting. I think it's been going well. I really like the addition to talking to people. I think that's really fun, and it's also good to, to get to know guys and stuff, and gals if we ever get them on here, outside of the ring. So I think it's good.
Well, and we've got a really good guest in the bullpen just waiting, and probably in about 5 minutes we're going to take a commercial break, and then we'll come back with our guest. And we're giving him a lot of time because, we don't usually do but about a 30-minute show, but we're going to give him plenty of time because this man has stories from the beginning up. So this might have to be a 2-episode.
Possibly, maybe. I have to stop it and get another one running.
So we might have to have him back on, next week and just make it a 2-episode deal. Because like I said, he's got stories that I may not want told, but I've opened the door, so God knows what'll happen.
I'll have to ask him about what I've heard about the training sessions and stuff. So
okay. All right. Anyway, what was it we had? I have to do this every time. Mid-Atlantic episode 494.
494. Wow.
Last night, April 15th, tax day, 2025. It was an episode. I mean, it was all from Ivanhoe. Victor Krause, Russell, little skinny guy. Can't remember his name. It's his first time. Come on, I'm old. Give me a break. And then the tag titles for the ICW is on the line with the little tiny guys versus the guys that everybody sits at, and this is nothing mean. I'm going to end this. I'm going to end this good. Everybody sits in anticipation, waiting for this one certain guy to have a heart attack in the ring, but he powers through every match, and I'm so proud of him.
I don't even know what to say about that. I just Ivanhoe is like never mind. I'm not going to say that. It's an interesting thing, and it's they work very hard, and it's like a different world up there. Like it's like you step through some kind of portal and land in another alternative universe.
But it's getting so much better. Everybody is like stepping their game up there from the Mid-Atlantic, AIWF Mid-Atlantic and ICW. Everybody's really stepping their game up in Ivanhoe and doing really well. So if you're in that area, the Ivanhoe, Virginia, Galax, Hillsville, Wytheville, Fort Chiswell, all that area right there, keep up with the AIWF Mid-Atlantic, and we'll let you know. I think our next show up there is May 10th.
Oh, yes. That was a Tennessee show. Never mind.
May 10th, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as it comes, because we've got some fresh faces coming in that night from on the Mid-Atlantic side nobody's ever seen them.
Jimmy Valiant, Boogie Woogie, man.
Legendary Boogie Woogie.
Wait a minute, baby. Wait a minute. Hang on.
What are you doing around
What was that calling you, buddy?
This is our neighborhood.
You done made a mistake.
You should be retired, Boogie.
Wait a minute, boys. Let me take a bite of my king dog.
You say king dog?
King dog?
Is that what he said?
What? What happened?
Come on, boy.
Don't let hunger bully you. Get yourself a king dog, and you too can become a super hunger fighter.
Secondhand Heroes and Home for Wayward Villains is a comic book shop and gaming store that also features Magic the Gathering and D&D. Located at 18184 Leesville Road in Evington, Virginia, Secondhand Heroes is your one-stop shop for you to get your nerd on. Open 7 days a week at 11 a.m. They don't close until the dice stop rolling. They buy, sell, trade, barter, and haggle, specializing in collectible toys, both vintage and modern, comics, Magic the Gathering, video games, console, and arcade cabinets to play, all set to free play. Host your game night with us. Monday night D&D video game competitions, and so much more. Something for the collector and gamer in us all. Call 434-317-0121 or shoot us an email with any questions to secondhandheroesva@gmail.com. Note, secondhandheroesva@gmail.com. That's 2ND, handheroesva@gmail.com. Come game with us.
All right, welcome back. I am Rick Diesel along with Reagan Danzig here on the AIWF Mid-Atlantic Breakdown, and a very special guest is with us this week, Mr. Sebastian Kane.
How do you do?
This man here, when I said before the commercial break that he has stories from the beginning, he literally has stories from almost the beginning. You come in what, like a year maybe after we started or less?
Something like that, yeah, because you guys were still young when I showed up, so.
Yeah. I've heard stories through Brian that you were responsible for his and Brad's and I guess the other people that trained, I guess Daniel too.
Daniel and Chris Wyndham.
And your cousin that did it once and then left.
Right.
I have never, ever denied the fact that Sebastian done 99.5% of their training, and I would come out as soon as my eyes could adjust to the light from the hangover and help as much as I could.
Well, the good thing is with that, the boys were so good by themselves, and they had watched so much NWA and whatnot that, man, they had it. We just had to hone it in to keep them from running crazy.
Yeah, so it was good times back then. So what we do and what we want you to do, Sebastian, is we're just telling stories. Just like when we sit around the locker room. I mean, you know what I'm saying? People love these stories. We try to keep it as, within the business as we can, but I know sometimes it runs a little outside the lines. But we want to hear from you just stories from back in the day. Back when you could jump off the top rope.
That's been a long time ago.
I remember that.
I remember, I hope you remember this when I was thinking about it today. We took a road trip to Wilmington, North Carolina for Mark
That when we rented the car?
That's the one with Atomic Playboy. He wanted to drive. So, Ray, I don't know if you remember, back in the day, we had these old big duffel bags. You could probably hide like 3 bodies in.
Right.
So there's me, Rick, Atomic Playboy, and Dynamite Doug in this car. And we go to open the trunk. Too. Right. We go to open the trunk. Trunk won't open. So we're like, what do we do? So we put all our bags in the back, take off to Wilmington. So we go to Wilmington.
I can't remember if it was me and the Playboy or me and Doug. I know it wasn't me and you.
No, it was you and Playboy, because me and Doug, because Doug thought we was going to have an easy night.
I remember we rode to Wilmington and back with all those bags between us and our arms up on them like this.
Yes, sir. And Reagan, I kid you not, we got back home, unloaded. Atomic Playboy got in the car, got out of Rick's driveway, and the trunk popped open.
No, of course.
Down there 4 hours back.
Oh my gosh, we beat that poor car.
Somebody give an elbow drop off the hood, I think. I can't remember.
I'm telling you, we've had some doozies.
Was that the hurricane?
I think it was, yeah.
I know we went down there one time. I'm not sure if it was that one, and wrestled in a hurricane. And there was like 10 people in the crowd. I can't believe they even showed up.
Yeah, because it was supposed to have been some huge show, and Mark had it in a nightclub or something. Yeah, it was. Then got there and then nobody showed up.
That was the one. Remember, Ray? You talked about the pay sometimes. I'm pretty sure that was the one where he handed a $20 bill to us. So here, split this amongst you.
Yeah, I have told that story that Brian and I we worked a show for somebody else one time, and he gave us $5 for both of us together.
Oh, honey, I rode to Fredericksburg, Virginia for a hot dog and drink.
Yeah, I mean that's that's kind of where it was back then for some places. But so how did you get into wrestling?
Me and my dad, we watched it a lot, and I had always wanted to try it. And a cousin of mine married a guy that was an independent wrestler in Georgia. So I just got to talking to him one day, and I was like, well, hey, why don't you, train me up a little bit? He said, hey, that'd work. So he had a ring. We went over to his house, and he beat the dog crap out of me. And one thing led to another, and he and I started working each other a lot. We had programs set up for just me and him. And, we done a lot of that for, first year. And then I got with Rick, and it was history from there on.
Because we were the first, I guess to once again go outside the lines a little bit. We were the first traveling match in the AIWF.
Yep.
Rick Diesel versus Sebastian Cade all over the
everywhere. And we had 3 finishes.
So just to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, you remember when we worked over in Madison for the Flash and them?
Nightclub?
Yep.
The one where you knocked my eyeball out. That's for good reason. For good reason. Yeah,
Reagan, this was awful. We were working the show. The ring's about a foot off the ground. We're in the ring, and I can literally put my hand on the ceiling. That's how small of a building we're in. The crowd is what? Maybe 2 foot from ringside.
It was such a small place.
Oh, it was awful. So, I'm trying to do my thing, trying not to kill Rick in the process. So I got him in a chin lock, and I'll throw one down on him. Well, the guy in the front row goes, well, you didn't hit him. And I looked at Rick, and he just kind of, But then we go to the corner. I'm like, Rick, you all right, brother? He goes, it's okay. My jaw's still attached.
I thought I lost teeth. I did. It jarred me.
It sounds like y'all did a lot of nightclub shows back then and bar shows.
Yeah.
What are you trying to say, Rick?
I don't know. I wasn't there for that. I've just heard along the lines that it may have been a little seedier there in the beginnings.
It was rough.
Do you remember Greensboro, the Mexican nightclub?
That was what I was getting ready to say.
Oh, I have not heard. Wow.
Yeah, Rick liked to die that night.
Oh yeah, God yeah. But you tell it. They've heard me. There's people heard me tell it, and so now just like the story that Vladimir Koloff told in the dressing room about that I'd been telling that he verified it at the last show. You can verify the Mexican nightclub. So,
the venue. We went to the nightclub, and we were expecting the worst, and we pretty much got it because they were serving a buffet of Mexican food. Well, if you know anything about Rick and food, his favorite word is free. So Rick partook and partook and partook.
Burritos, baby.
Oh, no.
So me and Rick were tagging against Doug and Flash, I think it was.
Could have been, I'm not sure.
And poor old Flash, he was a good kid. He really was. He picks Rick up.
This is a different Flash, not Justin.
Yeah.
No, not Justin Flash. This is just Flash. He was just a little old redneck boy from Madison. And he picks Rick up to body slam him. Well, on the way up, Rick says,
Burritos kicked in.
And poor old Flash did everything but drop Rick on his head. I'm laughing. Rick's laughing. Flash is laughing. And Doug's over the corner going, whoa. I mean, we've had great times there. We really have. It's a wonder we're all not dead, but we
or have more brain damage. So
it's very true. Very true.
But that's what made it so much fun back in the 90s, early 2000s, all that. I mean, it was not only the shows and all the people and all the different states in the Mid-Atlantic that we went and wrestled in front of, but it was the road trips.
Mm-hmm.
Guys don't get that nowadays.
No.
They don't, because and Reagan, you even remember when we would like line up cars,
yeah,
and go to West Virginia.
I do. It's like that's one of the things I do miss is that travel from place to place. It was like a caravan of like gypsies, you know.
Right.
And I remember one time when we were going to West Virginia, Bill had borrowed my dad's big van to take a bunch of us in, and he didn't get gas on the way there, and on the way back from Bradshaw, we were like coasting on gas and fumes until we finally found a place, and it was so. But no, I miss those traveling days. Those were a lot of fun, especially when you're going with so many people.
Oh gosh, yeah. Because me, Rick, and Don Hopkins, God rest his soul, I bet we've put hundreds of thousands of miles under our belts together, pulling that ring and setting it up.
Pulling the ring in Don's little Ford Ranger. Oh my God, that thing was not made for that.
No, it was not.
Doing 35 miles an hour down the highway because you couldn't go no faster because the U-Haul trailer would start swinging.
Right. But, you think about it, when we think back, we went to Smoky Mountain. That's where, we got in with those guys. Then we got in with Rod Price down in South Carolina. I mean, we got where we were hanging out with some high dollar talent there for a long time.
And you actually went to the Resurrection, although it was short lived, of the NWA.
I did back in.
Because we went to Ivan Koloff's school, and you tried out for Tully Blanchard. I
did, and scared to death.
and that's where you met Bradshaw, JBL.
Yeah, he like to took my freaking head off too. I know why they call that the clothesline from hell now.
I mean, there's so much, and like I said, the stories that honestly, if we just sit down and just started telling, would be unbelievable.
Well, that's what I tell with me and Joe Cruz, the old jobber guy from NWA. He and I got to be good friends out in Lenore, and he and I were like, we ought to write a book and tell some of these tales. He's like, Big Daddy, nobody would ever believe it.
Yeah, I know. Do you remember the Jimmy Garvin show?
I do.
He was in the ring when he pulled up on the motorcycle.
It hadn't been working like 20 minutes. But he was super gracious. He jumped in the ring and he said, kick my ass, boys. He said, I'm late.
Got off his motorcycle in the rain, went into Veterans Park, crawled in the ring, and done his match.
He did, and done a heck of a job.
So if you were to think back, if you could just pick like maybe one match that like really stands out to you and like was your favorite like experience, your what you consider one of your best matches, maybe against somebody that you think was really good, like do you have one that you could just tell us about? Or is that too hard? Is it too hard to just pick one?
Well, I mean, there's 33 years there, and so but one of my better ones I'll say was probably Bobby Fulton. And Bobby and I did not get off to a very good start with each other straight from the beginning.
Where was that?
We were at Beach Nut Park. Him and Coach of Beware was working.
That's when that bird bit me.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And I done a stupid move and scared Bobby, and Bobby got PO'd at me, which he had every right to. I did wrong. So they booked us a match together, I don't know, a couple of months later. He was kind of iffy about it. And I was like, well, I'm going to redeem myself, at all costs. So we get in and, Bobby starts giving me the business, which, he should have. Then he hit me with a 50-gallon steel barrel. And he got one shot in, but he didn't get the second one. The second one, I got my shot in. And then after that, he and we wrestled each other for, 6 months. Because, I got his respect and he got mine. And he really taught me a lot about being able to move. Well, Rick's going to understand this probably better than anybody. You will too, Reagan, how to move and talk and not stand still and tell a story. So Bobby, to me, he probably taught me more in-ring one-on-one than probably anybody has.
That's the way I was with Wahoo.
Yeah. Now, Chief, gosh, that was a learning tree right there. Golly.
Yes,
but so, first time, I want to tell you, you're talking about older guys. One of the very first matches I did up in Harrisburg, Virginia, I walked in and Ivan Koloff and Paul Jones were working each other on the show. Well, I go in the dressing room and Paul Jones comes walking in and he's got a briefcase, got his suit pants on, shirt, dressed to the nines. And I'm thinking, well, where's his gear? So Paul opens his briefcase. Well, there's where his boots and his trunks are. So that's all he wore. Then he turns the briefcase around and he's selling Amway vitamins out of it. And I
remember him selling.
Oh my gosh.
I remember Paul Jones selling Amway and cars.
I can see a car salesman, but the Amway, that's funny.
After he retired, he went into selling cars.
He did.
I think that's probably I could see that being somewhere from going to wrestling to car salesman. It's almost the same type of thing. So,
well, yeah, you got
to host Amway parties. I think I went to one time at somebody's house.
Well, it was that just blew me away knowing that Paul Jones was selling Amway.
Yeah,
guess that shows he didn't manage his money well.
Well, I'm sure none of us did.
Well, we've seen, especially from the bigger names, we've seen a lot of shocking stuff in the dressing room, like Tully Blanchard in and out of a towel.
You going to tell the South Carolina story about Jay Eagle?
Man, anyway.
Now I want to know that story. Are you going to have to tell that off camera? Because I'm interested in this now.
I just remember Tully Blanchard with a towel over his shoulder coming out of the shower, which was
Jaybird, Reagan.
Yeah, that was bizarre. But that was the same night that he was wrestling Ricky Nelson. Yep. And just before he went through the curtain, he looked at me and said, "I love beating up the pretty boys."
I don't know, but Tully Blanchard is one of my favorite wrestlers from that time. That's why my cat's named Tully.
Oh, that's cool. Tully was, to me, he made being a heel cool because he was just smooth about everything he done and how he done it and how he presented it. And I mean, it just made you want to be that,
Tease Treats is a food truck service that operates out of Mount Airy, North Carolina. They serve decadent, delicious ice cream treats, hot dogs, chicken tenders, chicken sandwiches, nachos, funnel cakes, and so much more. They can be in multiple locations at the same time, available for festivals, athletic tournaments, concerts, or any gathering. When it comes to delicious quality and reasonable prices, you can't go wrong with Tease Treats. You can find out more about Tease Treats at facebook.com/Tease Treats, or you can give them a call at 336-755-8204. You'll find out that Tease Treats are not only the best concessions in wrestling, but the best concessions anywhere.
So I got to tell one story that is not wrestling related.
I didn't know.
Yeah, well, you were involved. Okay, a lot of people don't remember, but me and Sebastian used to be bouncers at a nightclub.
Oh my heaven!
Rittenhouse Square.
Oh my!
Mexicans burn it down in Winston-Salem. So, allegedly. Allegedly. Anyway, I'm gonna tell this story.
You go ahead.
We was working the night David Lee Roth come
to. That was a rough.
David Lee Roth come in with 2 buses and a tractor trailer. And, we helped him carry everything in. Well, that night, I was out running, they called it beer backing, I think is what it was. Anyway, I'd go bring beer to the bars. Well, naturally, Sebastian, sorry.
You're
Sebastian,
pulling a me.
Take that out. Naturally, Sebastian, being the biggest guy there as a bouncer, they put him dead center of the stage, just like this. That's what he had to do, so nobody would come to the stage. Well, David Lee Roth, back then, Sebastian Kane had this haircut. It was flatter than an airline, an airport runway on top. And I don't know. I don't know if you remember this or
I remember.
put it out. But David Lee Roth was on stage doing his thing, and he walks up and looks at everybody in the crowd. Sebastian standing like this. Everybody looked at the crowd and goes, walks up behind Sebastian and sets his nuts on his head.
You could actually see his nuts on your head.
Hey, I could feel him. Yeah, that was.
You could feel his nut. Wow.
I wanted to kill him, but
so he has had David Lee Roth's nuts on his head. Just saying, everybody can envy him for that.
You want to know what? That's funny. Brian is sitting over there off the side, and every time he hears a story, he laughs.
Brian probably remembers the majority of it.
but he was just picking around because honestly, he was so tall. And that stage was kind of short. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't real tall, but he was tall enough that he came right there. I mean, you know what I'm saying? He was tall enough that he was level with it. And he took advantage of it. I'm sorry.
Very, very unfortunately, Reagan. Very unfortunately.
But that was an out of wrestling story that I have literally debated with myself for 2 days about telling, but
the funnier part of that story is when David showed up, he was in one bus and his band was on another bus.
Yes.
Because the band was afraid to ride with David. Because he was that big of a
So you owe me one out of wrestling story if you want to.
Well, out of wrestling. Yeah, we better not.
Nobody knows more of them than you do with me.
How did y'all meet?
Dynamite Doug.
Yeah,
Dynamite Doug. He come over to the house. Me and him had been friends for a long time, and he said, "Man, I'm wrestling." He said, "You ought to come check us out." And I'm like, "Well, cool. I'll come over." And I come over and introduced to Rick, and 2 months later, I was on the show, and here we go.
Yeah, we had to have somebody big enough to wrestle John Brewer.
Rest his soul, bless his heart.
I know. I loved him to death, man.
Yeah, we was trying to. I wish we could find some of those older Righteous Rider and Black Knight, and I see Robbie Kellum every now and again, but
yeah, Robbie Kellum. Everybody calls him the Stro now. So a lot of people don't realize that the Stro was with us when he was still Robbie the Eagle Kellum, and he had the big eagle on his belly.
And Rob Van Dam started with us too, if you remember correctly, on them fair shows.
Who?
Rob Van Dam.
Oh yeah, in South Carolina, he was running with Greg Price, All Star Wrestling.
Didn't you? Because you've told me so. He wrestled. He didn't wear shoes, right?
Right.
When he wrestled then.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like Brian should be on here with these stories instead of me.
Ginger has run Rob Van Dam's gimmick table before.
Yes.
But yeah, Robbie kept he'll kill me for saying this, but I don't care. His mom and dad used to come sell his gimmicks for him.
Right.
And sell his pictures and everything. Robbie the Eagle Kellum.
Yep, that's been a long time ago.
Long time ago. God bless him. So
back before all the white hair showed up.
Yeah. That's it. But you got another question, Reagan?
I'm just trying to think.
I get on these tangents, I start forgetting.
I know. I'm just listening to this because it's fascinating because, by the time I came, there were some shifts in people and stuff. So, I never, I only met Sebastian Kane later in life. So, but like I said, I've heard the stories, for 25 years from Brian. So, I think it would be nice just to quickly talk about what the setup looked like for your training. I think that'd be a nice quick of what that setup looked like and how it got set and things like that.
Well, you remember more of it than I do.
Yeah, you and that Jack Daniels bottle had a lot of.
Yeah, I did have my times. I'm sorry. I apologize to everybody who thought I was not ever that type of person. There was a time.
He wasn't, but maybe once or twice a month. So don't get me wrong, he was never bad. But most of our training was usually we'd call the boys up and say, "Hey, it's going to be pretty this weekend. Let's set the ring up in the front yard and cook some hot dogs." And yeah, okay. And then the next thing you know, we got 30 people showed up and we're all in the ring. Well, let's try this and let's try that and let's see this and that. That's how we got what we got. And then we just, before every show, still like some of the boys still do, they'll get in the ring and try this and try that and see what works, what doesn't work. And it's
back then we all helped each other.
Yeah, and then some we'd go down to Ken Spence's in Winston and then get up around the loft and work. You remember that?
Yeah, that 2-story building.
Yep.
I remember that.
Because that's where we met Boston Terrier and Matt Dozier and
what was Steroid Man's name?
Oh, your buddy. Oh, crap.
What was his name? He wore that everybody thought his outfit was made out of aluminum foil.
Yep. Brian, you got any ideas? Aluminum foil, big guy.
His name.
No, Brian shaking his head. He doesn't know.
Pretty Boy Slater.
That's it, Slater. Yep, that's it.
Let me tell you,
Brian's shaking his head now.
Gun. He was.
Brian just said cantaloupe guy.
I don't remember him.
Oh no, that one.
It was
Mike.
Oh wait, come over here. Brian's gonna tell us. Brian's gonna tell us. Wait,
get in on this, Brian.
Pretty Boy Slater, he wanted to in the ring smash 2 cantaloupes together, and you were like,
surprise me.
Okay. He's like, okay, but don't do it in the ring. You can do it. You can hang them over the ropes and do it that way. I don't want cantaloupe all over the mat. So he did. He got the cantaloupes and smashed them and did
but
it.
That son of a gun was chiseled.
Yeah, he was a rock.
Yeah.
So why did he? Because that was to show how strong he was, and
Yeah.
that he could smash 2 cantaloupes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, he was pretty crazy, but then he liked this stuff called happy. You remember that, Rick?
Yeah, he would go right in the thigh, baby.
That's when me and Rick would go, time to go.
Yeah. Carried around his pocket. I don't know whatever happened to him. I miss him. I did like him though. Because he was a really cool dude.
Yep. And he had some tails.
And all.
Well, we've seen some stuff.
So
Yeah.
was Sebastian came rough on y'all when you first came around. You hear horror stories from the past,
No,
not just particularly with y'all, but just in general about people that were trained around that time.
right. Who were like trying to run you off, but no, that we didn't get that experience.
Mhm.
We got. I mean, it's rough enough. I mean, you don't have to amp it up. I mean, like I said, my cousin wanted to be a wrestler too. He was the biggest of us all, and after one training session, he thought he had to go to the hospital the next day, and he was done. So, but yeah, I mean, it's rough enough. You don't have to go in there and beat the hell out of somebody and try to run them off.
Right.
If you just go in there and teach them the right way, the right ones will get run off and the right ones will stay.
Well, I've said over in the past 30 years, I have said so many times, I'm so glad that we didn't old school train Brian, Brad, Chris Wyndham, Daniel Mays.
Yeah.
Those 4 turned out to be so valuable.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And if we'd have trained him the way I was trained, back in the early 90s, like, just a few years before, because they beat the crap out of me. I'd come home, bruises and everything. I mean, it was just bad. But I'm glad we didn't. And to be honest with you, I credit Sebastian Kane for that, because who knows how I'd have trained him if I'd have been sober.
Yeah.
So, it's on record now. I give him the credit for getting these guys in and getting them started and really teaching them the right way, because if I'd have stumbled out there, a few times, but the sun was so bright, I just went back in the house.
It was very professional. He had like index cards. It's like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And we went through them until everybody got down the moves that we were on that card. It's like, okay, we can go to the next ones now. And, and just until we went through everything, we learned every move. And then we learned reversals to those moves. I mean,
it was done right. And
yes. And I was working on one show.
Go ahead, Brian. I'm sorry.
I was working on a show like years ago, and these guys were working out in the ring beforehand. They were new. You could tell they were green, and they'd already wrestled a couple of matches, and one of them's like, "Here, put me in a hammerlock." And the guy was like, "How you do that?" And I was like, "These guys have been wrestling in matches. They don't know how to do a hammerlock. What's going on?"
I think
I was shocked.
That's funny that you mentioned that, because the way Brian and I met was that he was training me. Don Carson had started, but I guess you took over, and that was one of the first things you taught me, was the hammerlock and then the reversal out of the hammerlock. Right. I remember that being one of the first things that you taught me after I took 4-point bumps. So I just remember that. So
well, that's like going back to when I done the tryout for that NWA and had to work out for Tully Blanchard and Michael Hayes and Ivan Koloff, and when I'm in there, me and Boston Terrier were working each other, and we were trying to do all this, move here, move there, a little chain wrestling, arm drags, hip tosses. And they stopped us and said, "Guys, we want to see basic stuff. We want to see that you can do an arm bar and a hammerlock and a headlock." And I was like, "Really?" I was like, "All this other stuff I know, and you just want something simple?" So that's that's always my take. You learn the simple stuff, the bigger stuff will come so much more natural.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what, Brian and Brad and Daniel and Ian, I mean, they all picked it up. Like, man, it was just second nature.
Have you ever watched any of those old videos that they have from when they were in the backyard?
Yep. Yeah, they
probably thought what we was doing was a breeze.
But now we did. It was like we were doing it on our own and kind of had a sort of an idea. But then it's like when we were shown how to really do it, it's like, oh, wow. we could have really hurt ourselves doing it on our own. I'm glad we were taught how to do it the right way. It's like we've seen it on TV and kind of mimicked it, but there's these intricacies that you learn, when you're trained for real, that you just can't learn just by watching it on TV.
Right. I remember the first time I said, "Brian, get me in a outside arm bar." And he grabbed me and cinched me up and said, "Okay, that's not going to work." Like, but that's the way they do it on TV. I'm like, it is, but
I want to go home and be able to move my elbow tomorrow.
Yeah, and the cool thing with Brian and those guys, they were bigger nerds about the wrestling business than me were. Excuse me, Rick.
Fine, I got a beep.
Beep.
Oh, what did he say?
Yeah.
When they would come over, they were like, "Before we work, we made a video. Can we watch this video?" And it'd be like a 10-minute long video to some 80s and metal music that just clips of NWA and WWE stuff that they had put together. We had a great time.
Man, it was. I think, in my opinion, and don't get me wrong, there's some really good wrestlers out there nowadays, but I feel like so many of them missed out that didn't come in when we did, they missed so much.
Yeah.
We were so free back then.
Yeah, gosh, yeah. We could do whatever we wanted except for South Carolina and Virginia.
And
tried it a few times in Virginia.
Yeah, we did.
I remember one time in Virginia, maybe, I don't know, statute of limitations for that kind of stuff's probably up. But like we had a wrestler who was not licensed, remember TX?
Mm-hmm.
And he just hid until the commissioner left, and then he worked that night.
Been there, done that.
Well, I am never going for my promoter's license up there again anyhow.
Well, I didn't say you were the promoter, so you just see? There you go.
God almighty.
Did you give yourself away again?
Used to be alcohol, now it's old age.
Right. You remember when we did the Mohawk show down in South Carolina for Greg Price?
2,000 people, they said, was there.
The Mohawk Industries bought a wrestling show and a fair for their employees. And I mean, they didn't just buy, I mean, they had the Fantastics and, gosh, who else was there? Coco Beware, Ring Lords.
Was that the one that Medusa was on?
I think it was.
I can't remember. There was one show that I got left in the dressing room by myself. It's just me and Medusa. Wonder Blaze, whatever you people want to call her. That is the foul-mouthed human being I have ever met in my life.
Well, you know, she became
I love her.
She became a monster truck driver.
Yes.
I didn't see that.
I have never in my life heard one female drop that many F-bombs in a normal conversation. I was like,
more than me?
Yes. She makes you look like a nun.
She would make a sailor go, wow, dude.
Yeah. But God, and I just sat there and listened to her, and I was like, you are an amazing human being.
Oh, mercy. Good. Well, back in the day, as I was telling the story about South Carolina, used to you couldn't bleed in South Carolina. Well, the night before, Rick and I had a match, and I bled. So I had my forehead taped. So we get into the match because we're the first match on this card because, you know, we're pretty much nobody's on this show. So we start, and Rick hits me in the head, knocks my tape off, and blood starts pouring down my face. So I'm freaking. I'm like, oh, God, what are we? So I'm like, just take it home. Let's go. Get out of here.
God, it was a lot of people. But like he said, they had wrestling and a fair at Mohawk Carpet Industries in South Carolina. And because I remember that was the night that they had the Battle Royal, and Wahoo and Ivan was both on the show. And they were both like cracking jokes with me as they were throwing me over the top rope onto the dirt.
I hate to say this, but we're down to 2 minutes.
So, like I said, hey, Sebastian Kane, we can get him back. He has so many more stories.
I think that would be fun. I think Brian should probably be on the whole thing next time.
Yeah, I'll join in on the.
Yeah, because there's so many things that we didn't get into that we'll remember after this. So maybe in a few weeks we can have back, because I want to get some other wrestlers from back in the day on here to tell their stories. I know that we started this whole thing out as, recapping the Mid-Atlantic episodes, which we're up to almost 500 now. 494 aired last night. But we'll get you back on. So, in a few weeks we'll have you back on. If anybody wants him on sooner, just send us messages, me or Reagan. And we'll continue stories. You be thinking up some more stories, because I know you have them.
Oh, yeah, boy.
You didn't even scratch the surface of stuff you could tell.
No, we didn't even get to the close to going to jail story. So
nope.
No, there we go.
Finding the dead body.
Oh, this is I've never heard this story.
Yes, we'll save that for next time.
Just remember. Yeah. Oh my. So it looks like we're gonna have to have part 2 of Sebastian Kane.
Oh yeah. Anyway, I am Rick Diesel for Sebastian Kane, our great guest, and Reagan Danzig. Thank you for being here, and we will see you next week.